My name is Paul-Louis Polo. I work at Draper Esprit. Draper Esprit, we are a Series A to Series D fund, investing kind of ticket size from 5 to 50 million across Europe, excluding Israel and Russia, across all sectors. Some of our most famous investments include the likes of Revolut, Graphcore, Trustpilot, Draper this year, Kazoo, SPAC recently, Ford Machine, Ledger, Aircall. At Draper Esprit, typically I focus on France. I'm leading our coverage on France. On top of this, I look a lot at consumer and consumer-enabled businesses as well. Very happy to be here.
Cool.
Great.
Perfect. Happy to continue. Katharina, my name. I'm actually investment manager at Vorwek Ventures, which used to be part of the Vorwek group. You might know it, you might not know it. It's a relatively large family-owned business in Germany. And in 2019, we decided to become completely independent, raising a new fund, hiring a new team. So we're now 8 people based in Berlin and cover everything in Europe that sort of makes the end consumer life, I would say, better, more empowered, or more, let's say, happier in a sense. So we love everything that's consumer centric, not limited to that. But if you look at our portfolio, I would probably say that most of our companies are consumer centric. And in terms of ticket size, we invest typically between 1 and 10 million euros. So probably exceed Series A stage, really depending. I mean, there are also, I guess, like rounds where 10 million is not even a seed round anymore. So things have changed, but we're flexible in that regard and love everything ranging from like future of food, future of work, mobility, travel, education, digital health, the passion economy. We love all around that, everything that's consumer centric. And also very much looking forward being here tonight with Paul and Vladimir.
Yeah, and we have our third VC has just come, Vladimir. Welcome. I would just remind the startups pitching to check their emails for the backstage link, because it's not appearing at the moment. But Vladimir, would you like to go into a bit about your fund and a bit about your role in the company?
Yeah, sure. Hello everyone. Yeah, sorry for being late. So my name is Vladimir. I'm investment manager at Impulse VC. We at Impulse are focusing on European early stage companies, mostly between late seed and Series A. Our main expertise is in the field of digital advertising and digital marketing, but also we love to and looking for B2B companies, mostly SaaS and marketplaces. Also PropTech, some cloud-related projects, gaming, agricultural tech. So, frankly speaking, we are generalists, maybe only with one exception. We don't invest in fintech and insurtech. And for all other Series A and seed projects, we are very welcome.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, we're waiting on. We've got 2 starters pitching tonight. The first pitch is in about 7 minutes. We're just waiting on them now. So yeah, we'll get started shortly. Just whilst we wait, how do you find that a pitch deck for the e-commerce marketplace space is what are some of the differences than a regular pitch deck? Would you guys say there's any differences between the e-com marketplace? Would you look out for any sort of differences? Anyone?
Yeah, sure. I will take it.
Not sure who wants to start.
Okay, I think it depends on the stage. There are a lot of similarities, about the team, how big the market is. I think typically in marketplace, early stage, kind of how you build supply is often key to winning the market, right? So having, really thought about this and showing that you can attract supply in a smart and efficient way, I think is often key in this type of businesses. On e-commerce, I think e-com now is becoming, pure e-commerce model are becoming, they have been classic for the past 10 years, right? So metrics, people kind of know what metrics you need to hit to be able to raise. And I think it's a lot about showing that you can be really efficient and the small margins, to squeeze the margins everywhere. And then it's going to be on your go-to-market strategy. how you're going to acquire customer and show that the LTV CAC is going to be attractive, right?
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, maybe some additions from my side, and I think what Paul says is in line with what we think. I guess with marketplaces, we also always try to understand what are the barriers to entry. How do you make sure there's no bypassing problem, for example? And in terms of e-commerce, probably like some sort of differentiation that allows you to be the first, and maybe also the winning model in that segment that you're tackling. But these are just like two small additions, but other than that, in line with what Paul said.
Fair enough. So we have Sergey here, who's our first startup. So we'll call up Sergey now to the stage, and he'll have 4 minutes to pitch. So we'll just remove you guys. Hi, Sergey. Hi.
Hey, good afternoon or good evening from wherever you are.
Yeah, no, Windsor, UK. So yeah, it's up mid-afternoon here. So it's nice. It's good afternoon. Yeah. So basically, you have 4 minutes to pitch. The process for tonight is 4 minutes and then 5 minutes of feedback, and then a couple questions. I'll chuck some more questions at the VCs we have, and we'll go into the next part of the event at 6 p.m. and a bit of networking before. So do you want to share your screen? Do you have a pitch deck? And do you want to start?
Yeah, that'd be great. Let me bring that up. All right, awesome. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Sergey. I'm based out of New York, and I am the founder of Boxhero. Boxhero is a simplified shipping method and easy returns. I'll stick to returns as that's our core. The problem we see in the marketplace today is that returning an item is a lot harder than buying it online. When you buy something online today, it's simple. You add to cart, you enter your shipping address and your credit card information. In about 12 hours, the item can be at your doorstep. With returns, it's cumbersome, it's difficult, and it's really frustrating. All the return labels are different. No one has a printer to print it out, and then you have to find the proper place to leave that package. We want to solve that problem. Returns happen, and we know that, and we should make it easier. We want to do returns without receipts or labels or packaging or printing, and really not waiting in line to drop that package off or even chasing the truck like we do here in New York. We want to make it super simple. Our product allows you to schedule a pickup with our expert. That expert will come and take your item in a clear plastic bag. We'll then go back, we'll pack it, we'll print the label, we'll secure it, and we'll get it out to wherever it needs to go. Super simple. Our app works by connecting the consumer to a local shipping expert in your area. You'll select a time and date, you'll select the store you need to return the item for, and we'll have all of them. You'll select the type of label you already have from that store, either a physical label, a digital label, or a QR code even, and we'll be happy to take that for you. E-commerce is growing, and we know that returns will grow with that as well. We have apps for every single daily task that's made easier now through an app. So why not do it with returns? Plenty of times people have said that they'd rather keep an item and never order from a company if the return isn't easy. 62% of people today don't have access to a printer. We want to solve all those hurdles of returns with Boxhero. So we'll save time, we'll get people back their money for their returns that might be stuck in a closet somewhere, and we'll save the hassle. The market size is huge, and it's crazy to put these numbers up here, but I know some of you might like this slide. 21 billion packages are shipped, and about 30% of everything you order on Amazon is returned, or any other store. And clothing stores, it's even higher than that. We do have some competition in the marketplace, but what we do is we aggregate it all and make it simpler. You have your local shipping store you can go to, and they can tackle a couple of things for you. You can go back to an Amazon locker here in the States and return your Amazon purchase. The post office will only take post office labels. The UPS store only takes UPS labels. FedEx only takes FedEx labels. Now, we do have some other competition, like maybe you've heard of Happy Returns. They were just acquired by PayPal. Happy Returns is a local booth in a mall where you'll come and drop off your items. They partner with a lot of e-tailers, clothing mostly. And that's another one of our competitors. But what we do is we'll bring an expert to your house. We'll take it back, and we're able to process all stores, all labels, all types of packaging. So the audience of my market really want us in the we are needed in the market, and we have a team to do this. I currently own Outside the Box Shipping, which is a local shipping store where people come to my store and say, "Hey, I need help with this return," and they lug 3 or 4 packages from their house to our store at a time. Me and my partner Andrew started this business about 6 years ago, and we saw huge growth in the return business. I have some other friends here, Mike, Roman, and Igor, that will help shape this business in different ways. And I think we're ready to, we're moving in the right direction. Currently, I'm the only full-time on board with Boxhero. I bootstrapped the beginnings of this, and we're ready to take it to the next level. We have 2 different services. Sorry.
Just say run out of time, so just finish up if you can. Thank
Sure.
you.
So we make it easy with returns. We'll also make it easy with shipping, and we'll also offer same-day delivery through our application. I have some pricing here, but I can email you that. We have partners in place already. And then I have a business model here that we wanted to go through, but it'll be revenue share with our partners who actually do the task in your local neighborhood and Boxhero. There's a lot of benefits for the partners because I'm one of those partners now as a physical store in the neighborhood. We have a roadmap here that I'll happily go through privately with you, and we're looking to raise $400,000 to take us to about 16 to 18 months of runway that allow us to build out what we're finishing up building now and launch. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and we can get the VCs back on and have some feedback. So, guys, what did you think?
Great.
Bit of advice.
Great pitch. I guess for my question, we didn't have a lot of time, I think, to get through it. You just very briefly showed the business model. I guess my initial thought was, okay, it is a very painful process, but for who is it? For who is it made? Who's going to pay for it eventually? I guess it's a huge pain point for customers. But looking at the business model, it would be great to understand who's eventually going to pay for the premium service, I would say.
Yeah, the consumer will pay for the service. And the reason I know that is because in my retail store, when they come in with with an item to return, they come in with this item and they say, it's broken. I want to send it back to Amazon. How do I do this? And then I'll go and say, you're going to buy this envelope. You're going to buy this label. You're going to buy this tape. We're going to put it all together for you. It's going to cost you $7. Thanks for coming, right? But now we're going to do that by going to their house. We'll charge a premium. We'll discount all the other peripherals, but we'll charge a premium for the pickup service, and they will pay for it. Because right now they're paying about $4 to $6 per return, although Amazon told them it's a free return, right? So they're willing to pay for it because they want to get their money back, and they also don't have the packaging to do so. And the next step is the pickup and making it simple. Because sometimes right now in my store, people will come in and I say, I'm sorry, I can't handle that return. You have to go to the post office specifically. With Boxhero, we'll be able to handle all the services.
I fully understood. I guess I would question a little bit the willingness to pay for that, given that if you look at some statistics, at least that most people would actually not order, for example, something if there's any shipping cost associated to it. So I guess my question would be, and that's nothing to answer, but maybe to think about how large is or how large is the fraction of people who are actually willing to pay such premium to have that service?
Absolutely. So the problem is on the retailer side, right? When you go to a website, it's always going to say free shipping, free returns because they want you to order it. Now, if you have a printer and you have a box and you have tape, it is free. But then you also have to go and take it to the post office, and it can be completely free. But in most cases, you're so excited, you get a package, you rip it open, that box is no longer good, you don't have tape, and you don't have a printer, and you have to come to a local store like mine and say, please help me. And for please help, we do charge, right? People can go and buy their groceries and cook, but then you can also have a service that delivers cooked meals to you. So people are paying for that convenience. And yes, the retailer is going to still flaunt their benefits of free returns, but there are stipulations to get that return completely free.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, second, no, I mean, I think, you're right. E-commerce is booming. Return is still a big pain point for out of businesses. But, I guess what I see is a lot of entrepreneurs who are trying to reinvent fulfillment from the ground up, from like all the steps. So you have guys like Shipmonk and Shipbob in the US, right? And kind of think like, if you can do a great return solution, kind of, will this be a feature added to a fulfillment product, or is it kind of a standalone? I only do returns, right? And I think probably you see more and more people having to try to have fulfillment from A to Z and add returns. So kind of question for you would be like, do you think you can, move from only doing returns to kind of offer some extra product on fulfillment, right? Because if you already have vans to go pick up things at customers, you can probably make it more efficient by dropping things and picking things, right? Like you can increase your efficiency this way. So yeah, I can just quick thought for you on this one.
Yeah, we've thought about that. First, we want to make sure that we capture the core is taking the items back. And then we can either figure out another model of either sending it actually back to the retailer, or do we group it first, hold on to it and fulfill it back. We can do that reverse logistic process, and then hold it in our warehouse and then send it back if somebody buys let's say a refurbished item or a neatly worn clothing, right? Which will be a secondary clothing market, which is booming as well. So there's thoughts on what we do with the actual return when we take it. We might not even, it's a long haul. First, we have to actually take it back and return it. We just don't have enough funds to refund the customer and hold on to the item. But in the long term, the idea would expand to, hey, maybe you're outside your return window, right? So let's say you have a return window to a technology store. You buy from Apple, and Apple offers you 30 days to return this. But you're at 35 days, you go to Boxhero, Boxhero says, sure, we'll take it back from you, right? Because they're paying a subscription fee of $17 or $18 a month. We'll cover that cost and we'll resell this for $80 on the secondary market, potentially. But that's all, I had those thoughts and so do my partners. That's long term, and I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah, and maybe one point from my end. So I think it's not a question, just just to think about it. Maybe also it's important to to find the right balance between for you to sell your product to retailers, because they're fighting for really tight margin in most cases, because e-commerce is super competitive right now. And I think for them, it's a question between increasing customers' loyalty because of your solution, and more easy returns, and their loss of margin because they have to pay for it.
Yeah, so there's a thought there, and I don't think retailers will like me much because they want to limit their returns. They don't want to make it much easier, right? They want to make them free. They don't want to make them easier because they don't really want the return. So there is an idea of having a Shopify plugin that says return with Boxhero, and we'll we'll schedule it through that link, and we'll take the item back to make it easier for the customer. But I'm not sure if the retailer wants to advertise how much more easier the return can be, because like you said, their margin is slim. Every time they have to take an item back, they lose on that. So I have to find a better balance. And I don't know what that looks like just yet, but I'd love some more help.
Fair enough. Well, if does anyone have any final thoughts or anything else they'd like to add about the pitch?
I guess just another, I think it's an extremely interesting space because, as you mentioned, I think it's also sustainability related, people making a lot of returns. So that's, I think, bad. I guess just overall, I would ask myself, what is the right way to reduce those returns? Wouldn't it be maybe to already, first instance, try to make sure that the orders that people do are more accurate rather than sending them back? And I guess that would be the second step. But overall, obviously, it's a huge cost factor. So yeah, interesting to see a new approach to that.
Fair enough. Well, thank you very much. We're now waiting for Bryce Barnes to do the second pitch. If you're there, Bryce, just link with the backstage link that we sent you. But yeah, just waiting on Bryce now. Okay.
How many did you say? How many pitches are there?
There's two. There's two today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah. Okay. Well, whilst we wait, did you have any like general advice around good and bad decks? What are some of the things what are some of the telltale signs for like a bad deck or a good deck? Anyone? All right.
No, I think good decks kind of you answer the questions, the basic question, which is kind of what's the pain point? How does your product solve it? How big is the potential market? Why you're better than competition? Why you have the right team to win? And then kind of showing, depending on the stage, some kind of traction and economics numbers. And that's probably kind of the key things you want to hit in a deck, right? And probably the more complex your product is and your space is, you should spend more time explaining it to make sure that people get a good understanding after reading the deck. Whereas on some e-commerce, it's probably quite self-explanatory, and you can probably have a shorter deck and go more into why you are way more efficient than the other models out there.
Yeah, I guess that's absolutely bang on, probably. And also, I guess, understanding the market dynamics, what kind of stakeholders are involved, and how do you make sure that actually the product that you're selling is a win-win, I guess, for all of them. And if not, how do you make sure, how do you manage to overcome potential obstacles? Probably would be my addition to that.
Fair enough. Do you are there common mistakes when pitching live? Do you guys have common mistakes that you know?
I would probably make sure to leave I guess like everybody's different. Every VC, I think, has different preferences. But I think the most interesting and best pitches live are the ones that are more like a conversation rather than just like a monologue, and then it's a goodbye to both parties. I think the best ones I had were really the ones where there were a discussion, there was brainstorming, maybe the meetings even overran. So more of like a two-sided street than a one-off where you just ask one-off questions. But it's a little bit generic, but that's at least my feel.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, yeah, as I say, we're just waiting on Bryce. See where she is. Right.
It's okay. Let me jump in here, Oliver, to help things. So since we're waiting on Bryce, we're doing a Q&A. So the idea is to try to get help from you all for the folks who are pitching in the e-commerce and marketplace kind of arena. So we're jumping in with a kind of list of questions to get your advice. If Bryce doesn't come, that's okay. We'll talk for like another 15 minutes and just try to get your kind of feelings and impressions about both Pitchdecks and kind of pitching live. I know at past panels we've done, VCs have said things like folks often make some very simple mistakes when they're pitching live. Are there anything kind of common simple mistakes when they are on a Zoom meeting now with you? I think most folks are doing Zoom meetings nowadays as the first kind of touch point. Is there anything that you notice that founders tend to make mistakes on? One thing that someone said at a past panel was they often don't ask you if you have questions during a pitch or at the end. They're just kind of trying to jump in. Are there things that you all notice?
I guess, I mean, from my perspective, that's not just, let's say, limited to Zoom meetings in general, like, I guess pitching. And I think it's relevant for both parties, is not being prepared. And I think it means also for, obviously, a venture capitalist, to, like, an investor, to be prepared and to know what to expect, and in a sense be prepared with questions to make sure the meeting is efficient. I think that's something that I at least try to make sure. I mean, I guess everybody has very little time, that nevertheless I try at least to take a few minutes before, like, even better, if more, to prepare to really dive into it and take some moments to really think about it, because I see that you can actually save a lot of time, even meetings, because you've already seen everything and thought through, so you can be much more precise. But equally, I think that's relevant for the founder as well, because we come in sometimes to meetings, the founder might have even forgotten that you spoke already at some point, have forgotten what you invest in. So it's a little bit of a awkward situation if you have to, again, introduce yourself, and you have to remind the person that you've actually spoken already. And then even if the person tells you something completely different to the first pitch, even worse. So I think it's always a matter of respect as well, to make sure people prepare as much as possible, or as good as possible, let's say, to make sure that the time is valuable for both parties.
To know, so the preparations for that would be to just know who they're talking to, basically.
Yeah, know
your fund focus, know if they talked to you in the past, like done the basic, like check to see if there's email exchanges from a year ago with you, like those kind of basics.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, for example, if founder approach you, I don't want to be the person who says, hey, actually, guys, we're not actually investing in crypto. Maybe you've seen our profile. You know, it's just saves time from both sides to make that very short tick, whether there's a match or potential match, at least. That's everything. Not really, you don't have to spend hours, maybe just a 5-minute sort of vision on, you know, that's it.
I think it's a lot easier than folks think. It's just kind of going on the fund's website and looking where the focus is.
Yeah, and to be honest, it makes the conversation more valuable, because I see that a lot of founders come very prepared. They have already ideas how we could make them intros to potential portfolio companies, because there might be some ways of collaborating together. You know, they're like sometimes, let's say, similarities that we can share. So I think it's a win-win for both parties, basically.
That makes a lot of sense. I love that. Preparing before you go to a meeting. It sounds like really simple advice, but I think doing the search in the email history to see if you've talked to them before, clicking their website, looking over their fund focus to make sure you're not crypto when they don't invest in crypto, like kind of handling the basics where you know who you're talking to and what they've invested in the past. I've actually heard that at a past panel where they said, you know, I was on a call with someone who said, you know, I was especially excited about this investment you made a year ago in this company, and I thought we might make a great fit because, you know, it's a similar industry and focus. And they were just so impressed that person had like found that information on them, and I love that. Sorry, Paul Louis, I apologize.
No, keep going. I was just going to, like, you know, add on this. I think was an interesting Paul Graham of YC. He kind of like did a survey about all the YC startups. It was the main thing that made them successful in their pitch, and actually the one thing that came back was the accent of a founder. It was very controversial. So founders with accent were performing definitely way worse than those without. And, you know, it's a reminder that, you know, we VCs are not perfect machine. We have a lot of bias, and you should be aware of this. And you know, it's the best thing you can do is to kind of understand this bias, prepare for it. Sometimes I see founders definitely prepare a lot. They have a super slick pitch. It's, you know, like a perfect machine. And sometimes it's, you know, it's definitely not as prepared, right? The best way to be good at presentation is to kind of do it 10, 20 times. And yeah, remember the bias of the people you're talking to, right? We don't know as much as we pretend in all the sectors, right? Some DevOps thing I'm saying, I'm like, what is going on? So remember, we are talking to and try to adapt your speech to a person.
Are there any specific ways they can adapt?
No, I think, you know, Katharina mentioned preparing and understanding what the person invests in. I think that's a great way. You know, definitely, you know, investors who don't have experience in the space might need a bit more hand-holding compared to those that have invested in adjacent areas. And then just, you know, asking kind of the VC how you want to do the meeting. Typically, I often like to kind of, if you send the deck in advance, I would have read it, and I generally prefer that we don't go again for the deck and just go go straight to questions. So to work more efficient, right? So it's kind of also up to you. I think the more information you can share beforehand, the easier it is for me to do my homework and for us, the meeting to be really efficient instead of going over some of the basics.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Did you say to not go through the deck that you've already sent?
Well, I guess some founders send me the deck a few days before the meeting, right?
Mhm.
So if I've received the deck, I will have read through it, and then it's kind of
So don't go through it like in detail every slide because you would have already seen those slides.
Yeah, I think we just even like jump straight to questions. I often just ask the founder if he's okay with like going straight to questions. So it kind of depends. I think you have a lot of options in terms of how you want the meeting to go as a founder, and it depends on you to kind of orient it to something you feel comfortable and good at.
No, I like that. But by the way, I see you there, Bryce and Alex. We'll bring you on in just a second. Thank you for joining. I'm glad that you guys are backstage now. But yeah, that makes sense. Even just maybe starting the meeting saying, would you like me to go slide by slide, or should we start in a specific area? I think just that question kind of shows that you are paying attention to the way that the investor is feeling. And maybe you haven't gone through it in detail, maybe you have, and you can kind of give them the chance to respond to that.
Yeah, and I guess sorry, go ahead, Vladimir.
No, sorry. Yeah, just my 2 cents to what already you and Paul Louis told, that I think it's definitely a good way just to go to the Q&A and maybe for founder to provide his or her secret sauce in this particular project. Not to not to spend too much time for the market, for the competitors, because I think if VC invests in this field, it's already heard it hundreds of times. So there's no need to waste time for it. We want to know you and know your way to conquer the market.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, kind of knowing what your secret sauce focus is. I feel bad now because like we're giving pitch advice and now Bryce has to come on and do their pre-prepared item. So don't overthink things just because we're giving this advice. You got to do what you're going to do. It's too late to change now. That's why you generally do advice after. But any final thoughts on this before we jump into the next pitch? Everyone cover everything? Awesome. So we're going to bring, I think, Bryce and Alex on a duo pitch. So I'll bring the judges off stage. I'll zoom you back on right after the pitch, and you have a chance to give your feedback and or advice. So let me bring you off. And then we've got Bryce and Alex on here. Can we test your audio real quick? Make sure that's working.
Hey.
Okay, great. Audio is working.
Great.
We made it happen. So one person will need to share their screen, which will have the deck. And the way things will work tonight is generally you have a 4-minute pitch, and then you'll get 5 to 10 minutes of feedback and advice from the panel. Where on areas they think that it would really help you to give you some advice on, they'll let you know. On areas that they have investment questions or think there are areas they want more detail on, they'll ask you. So a combination of both those things are great judges. Neither of you have shared your screen. Do you know where to do it? It's on the bottom. Oh, okay, there we go.
Just figured it out. Yep. Sorry.
I am seeing it. So that is what we see so far. Do you have a full screen version of this, or should we just do it this way?
That was I was trying to hold on one second.
I think if you press that little arrow, it'll at least close the those.
There we go. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's better. I think it is workable. So I'll bring your timer up. Are you ready to roll? Okay.
Sure.
We'll jump off stage. Wait, hold on. Let me make sure I'm not there. Okay. Do your thing.
Okay, great. My name is Bryce Barnes, and I am one of the founders, along with Alex Hoffman, of something we were calling GiveBlue, the first digital marketplace that directly is going to support campaigns and causes and candidates and the political space here in the U.S. Our plans are to launch this in the U.S., and then we see that there's going to be an international ability to be launching this internationally and globally as something we'll be calling Give Global later on down next year. But anyway, my background is for the past 15 years or so, I dedicated my life to fundraising in the political atmosphere. So raising for presidential candidates in the United States, the U.S. senators, U.S. House members, and several ballot initiatives, and realized that there's really a need to be able to bring people who want to fund political candidates and things of interest, an open source, essentially marketplace, to give them more options and ability. Because currently, right now, it's a pretty closed system of who who might be on one of the news channels or trending on Twitter that day. So really, for the first time, bringing a marketplace to politics for folks to be able to invest their dollars in the political atmosphere. And I'll kick it over to Alex to introduce himself as well.
Hi, everyone. Alex Hoffman, also a co-founder of GiveBlue. Similarly to Bryce, I have come up in the political fundraising system here in the United States, where I worked at the Democratic National Committee for several years. I served as the chief of staff to the National Finance Chairman and the deputy chief of staff to the entire finance department, where I oversaw most of the major donor program with some of the wealthiest Americans in the country donating to democratic political entities and democratic political causes. Similarly, what Bryce and I came together, frankly, from the good graces of the pandemic, of just having a little bit more free time, understanding that really there's a lot of bad advice out in the democratic ecosystem in the United States. And the way most people are thinking about donating to places and having a say in our political system is via Twitter, other social media platforms, and really what they see on TV. And it's not really strategic, it's not organized, but there's this massive opportunity space where we're talking about billions of dollars that are being spent every election cycle, that there's no real way currently to harness all of that power and harness all of that money into one singular marketplace. And that's what Bryce and I feel like we've developed. So I'll kick it back to Bryce, who can run through some of the things in the deck.
Yeah, so we'll run through a few of the things, but mostly, hopefully you guys have all had a chance to view the deck prior to today. Our website is giveblue.com, so you can check us out there as well. In terms of, it'll give you a good idea of how the marketplace currently exists in the U.S. and where we're taking it. But really, the top lines. Sorry, I'm gonna figure out how to do this a little bit. Top lines are a little bit what we just talked about, is a centralized marketplace. We're really kind of creating that ecosphere for folks to come in all together. Right now, people are going or hopping around from one website or another, and we're really unable to collect data on why people are interested in those candidates, why they might be interested in that specific nonprofit in that state. So really our app, and we'll kind of skip down to it, is going to be able to open that up through our onboarding system. People and our users are going to be able to tell us exactly what they want to see, who they want to invest in, what interests them, and we're going to be able to learn a whole lot more about our individual users as well. So hopefully making recommendations to them with our patented donor algorithm, that we're going to be promoting different insights to them and knowledge to them, as well as different candidates, to give them more opportunities to connect, making their donations more impactful. And so a little bit kind of about the trusted insights, and with the donors, since they will be telling us exactly what they want to see in their onboarding process, we'll give a few of their interests. And we're also going to be providing, as we called earlier, essentially a little bit of a consortium of a news feed that will help them make some educated guesses. So updated polling, what do those districts look like, to help move folks through that pipeline, as well as kind of the next thing that we're going to be doing is, for the first time in political history in the United States, we're going to have a forward-facing event platform that it'll just be for politics. So it'll have all of the events listed, from virtual and in person. One of the things that we heard back from the many focus groups we did was how important it would be and how cool it would be if you're traveling in the US to be able to stop in and maybe see the President of the United States, because he might be hosting an event somewhere soon near you or while you're on that trip.
Just a warning, Bryce, you're already over a minute over. You're 4 minutes, so might be time to get to the ask. I don't think we've quite got there yet. So you're already about a minute, almost a minute and a half over.
So in terms of the market size, I'll give you a brief overview. In the United States alone, it's a $52 billion market. So we feel like we're hitting this market at the exact right time with about 182 known million folks that donated in 2020. So we really feel like this is the critical time to be investing. In terms of our revenue sources, we really feel like we've got 3 really great revenue streams in terms of processing fees, a membership opportunity that we've started, and then obviously the supporter database, which will be licensed out to candidates and causes. Outside of that, we are in pre-development mode. We're actually launching our platform in the next few weeks. And so we are still seeking our seed development money. Right now, we're about 50% there in a convertible note. So we're really looking for another $250,000. And then really some strategic partners that see our vision that can help us grow this into a Series A next year and then take this beyond the United States. And that is all I've got.
Okay, great. Let me bring the judges back on screen, and you can jump in.
Happy to go first if everybody's waiting. I mean, great pitch first of all, and thanks for presenting it. I think it's a little bit unfair because 4 minutes is really not enough. So I think it's extremely hard to present everything. I think every investor is doing it differently. I think my initial calls with companies are usually 30 minutes, so for 4 minutes is really tough. So obviously, well done if you think about the limited amount of time you had. I guess I think 2 parts of my comment. I think the first one with regards to the pitch deck. Obviously, we haven't gone through all of it. It looked very nicely made done. One small advice, I will probably try to be a little bit less wordy, which makes it a little bit easier for investors to read, because I guess essentially what happens sometimes if you have too many long sentences or too much text that you distract the listener in a way, because you try to read something as an investor, but you should actually listen to the person presenting. But I fully understand that sometimes it's easier to transmit content that way. But yeah, might be a version which you hand in afterwards and the potential like the one that you present. But overall, just a small hint with regards to that. I guess my question would be, and I don't know the political land, or like let's say the political landscape in a sense or system in the US as much as maybe the German one. I would ask myself the question, how you feel about monetizing in a non-profit space in a sense. And again, I don't know how it is in the US, but I'm sure you have an answer to that.
Yeah, so great. So part of the way the system works in politics also is we have a lot of nonprofits, which are not that are associated with candidates or interests. So a lot of them we've identified about 500 in the US. So we're going to be including them as well. And then our hopes outside of, being able to scale this out of the US is focusing some on that nonprofit space. The thing that we hear most is people don't know where to find their next donor, don't know how to identify or get really good data about that. And so our hope is to be able to do that one-to-one verification where people who are interested in the environment might be matched with an environmental nonprofit. And those would be prime prospects for them to be able to talk to, engage with, and get funding out of.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, happy to go next. Yeah, I guess 2 thoughts. I mean, one is kind of like doubling down on what Katharina said. I think probably, if I'm making a donation to someone, I'm not very happy if it's like a 10, 20% take rate, right? It's kind of like a classic marketplace is like between 10 and 30%. So it's you probably want to monetize with the donor base. I'm not sure how valuable it is in the US, how many people have it. I think that's probably where most of your money is going to come from. On the other side, I think it's, you mentioned going abroad, and I think it's very much like a big US pain points, but you don't have this in other countries. So I think in France, to give you an idea, I think the maximum for a political campaign for presidential is like 30 million spent. which is going to be funded back by the state. And I think the maximum per person is like, what, 5K? So you're just not going to get big volumes in terms of donations. And I think it's probably the case, if you think about the biggest country by GDP, China, Russia, I mean, obviously not interested in this product. And so in most countries, I think like money is not how you win politics. So it's probably like very US centric product, which is, fine because it's a big enough market and where most of the money is coming from. I think it's kind of just thinking about how you can double down in the US and find a way to monetize without taking too much money from the donors. But yeah, some quick thoughts on it. But super interesting and definitely see the value of it because, like you said, the US 50 states, very broad. People want people want the party to win across all of these. And why not support someone in Nevada, even if I live in California, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know, Alex, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think from our perspective, obviously this is definitely to start very US focused in that, unfortunately, the rules in America are so different than in other countries in that, they value money more in politics than more so than any other country in the world, which is both a blessing and a curse. It's terrible for democracy, but it's great for a business, if that makes sense. And in our minds, it's more about having a more centralized focus on how to make those donations more impactful. But really, separate from the money side of it, there's also this idea that there's just so much information in politics right now, and there's not enough good places where you can really get the correct information. There's a lot of misinformation that's out there and disinformation campaigns that exist. And there's a lot of just, frankly, chatter that exists on social media that there's no centralized place of information where even if you're just a person who's interested in politics, who doesn't necessarily want to donate, that doesn't really exist anywhere. So having that as a centralized hub and having it for people as well, how that translates to internationally, I think internationally it's a lot less on the money side of it. And it's more just on the, who's my local representatives? Who are the folks who are actually making the laws and the rules in my places that I live in? How can I be more impactful about issues that I care about in the places that I live? And then how does that translate sort of into political action, not necessarily in financial action, if that makes sense. But from the charitable and nonprofit space, our future-oriented goals of this, and this is where I think there's a lot of international crossover, is that, there are so many charities that exist out there that operate not just in America, but across the globe that, getting some sort of centralized marketplace that exists for those charities as well. A lot of those donors who give to politics in the US directly overlap with those that are giving to charitable contributions as well. So having that as an international front too, there could be a lot of similarity in that regard.
Yeah, and one short question from mine. So thanks for the pitch, and I think it's definitely too early for ask, but I think every VC keeps this question in mind. So what do you think about the potential exits? Because to be honest, I don't see the clear way for you. So maybe a couple of thoughts.
Yeah. I think that we have some really great examples. One in the United States was just a great exit. A company here that's more of a SaaS product and a true database called NGP / Every Action. They changed their name to Every Action, but they basically are the SaaS and database service for the campaigns and organizations as well as the nonprofits here in the U.S. And they were able to exit into a private equity firm for, I think, $2 billion recently. So they've been in business a little less than 10 years. So it's really the first time we've started to see a lot of really big investments in the political space. We think it's a growing space, and this is just sort of the beginning of the innovation and a place that we can start. But we think that there'll likely be some sort of either private equity or a purchase from somebody else that's already in the ecosystem. And our view is to get this out in the marketplace. But the end of this year, beginning of next year, we in the US have midterms in 22. So we really want to test pilot this out before the presidential, but really see a potential exit, shortly after 24, or growth where we're acquiring other companies that are aligned with us.
Is this a venture capital business, guys? Or should they be going after VC money, or should they be going after PE money, just like they said for the exit they found? Is this a venture capital investable business? I'm just curious, your guys' impressions.
We think so. There have been very few, most people who have done essentially innovation technology like this with a political landscape has done this traditionally as a nonprofit, which has limited and their ability to innovate and reinvest back in what they should be doing, as well as there's been a real disconnect in terms of technologies to being able to talk to each other. So part of what we think that where the marketplace is going, it's a big enough market for the first time that we actually do think that this is a scalable VC investment in play with a great return on it. We're currently, got current investors now with a valuation of about 4.3 million before we've ever even launched the platform. So we
have VC investors?
We just have personal investors.
Angel investors.
Yeah, we have angel investors currently. We've been in some conversations with some VCs as well. So we're really trying to find that fit where we can grow, scale quick, kind of capitalize on the US market in the next 18 months, and then, scale this globally.
I think also, I mean, maybe I don't know, I just wanted to basically add on that I guess if you see like fundamentally that I guess you could definitely find VC money for that. I think it's a marketplace approach. And I think if you look at a PE, it's always like a question of risk and reward. And for a PE, I think that would be obviously way too early. So it makes sense to maybe go in as a PE at a later stage. But I think if you want to get funding, it would most likely be like either like from very passionate political people who are very much involved in politics, or potentially VC money. I would say, like, generally speaking, of course, there are like some question marks that every VC would probably have, same that we just mentioned, but I would say, why not? But I don't know what Paul and Vladimir thinks overall about that.
Yeah, I think if you can show, that you can get to a big enough market size that you can build a sizable business, that could totally be a VC business. Marketplace are something that we see a lot. I also enjoy the fact that I think it's quite smart to make it, very vertical, focus on kind of, liberal causes, of having both sides of the political spectrum. I think, community makes it much stronger. You're going to have much more referrals. So I think that's quite a smart move. It's just, are you able to prove that it's a big enough market and you can monetize to build like, a 100 million revenue business?
Yeah, great stuff.
I think, I think in terms of the
we're pretty over time, Bryce. If you can make the response quick, I think we're giving you quite a bit of extra time. But if you have a quick reply to it, that's okay.
No, I was just going to say I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, I think great feedback, great conversation. I have kind of one thing, and thank you to Bryce and Alex. I'm going to drop you off stage to final chat with the judges. We have kind of a final question. We just wanted to help to wrap things up and give folks advice based on the things you've seen today, and based on just pitches and decks and your area of expertise. If there was kind of one piece of advice you could give to founders, one thing that you kind of want to be the takeaway, what would that be, guys?
I think very difficult to pin it down to one, but I would probably, what my learnings are from the founders that have impressed me most, I think in the last years, probably take enough time and speak to as many people as possible. I mean, finding the balance, of course. I mean, you can also sort of get lost in getting too many opinions, but be open for it and be not arrogant and not reflective about it, because almost everybody, at least if you find the right people, they can help you build the right product. Obviously, you have to sort of identify which ones are the most important ones, but don't rush into things, but really have your story right and have your vision as well straight.
Yeah, on a different note, I would say like be resilient. Like I was working at Glovo previously, and Glovo, I think, was rejected by like 80 or 90 VCs. There was spreadsheet going around. It's the most rejected business in Europe or maybe in the world for a bit. It's now 2.2 billion. So the road is going to be tough. Even the best business that I see often had one down round and 1 month was really hard to close. So it's not like a straight journey, even for top businesses. So be resilient and kind of heads down, keep going.
Yeah, maybe just to add on. So I think I think it's commonplace, but you really have to find the people with your own chemistry, and also find true smart money. Not only investor, but also people with with good and relevant expertise for your particular tasks, because especially on the early stage, it can be crucial, to avoid mistakes and pitfalls.
That was great final advice, guys. I think that might have been the best final advice roundtable that we've ever had. That was it was almost like you had that ready, and I know that you didn't, because I didn't tell you in advance. You guys are awesome. No, that was a great 1 hour with you all. We're taking, what happens next is we have about a half-hour break where folks can head to the networking session. And I know it's not the same as being able to walk around an event and get free wine, but you still get to be matched with random people at the event. In 33 minutes, we'll be starting our second panel. So we've got 3 more venture capitalists. We're going to be chatting. I'll be running that panel. It's called How to Differentiate Yourself, your startup to investors and customers. So really focusing on differentiation, which is especially important, I think, in the e-commerce and marketplace, because if you do marketplaces right, it can go really far. But how do you kind of separate yourself from other folks who are trying to do the same thing? So we'll be jumping into that in half an hour. In the meantime, hope to see some of you and some other folks at the event in the networking area. For folks who can't stay, thank you for coming so far. And we will shoot over the recordings of the rest of the event at the end. But for anyone who wanted to get in touch with you, the panelists, what's the best way to reach each of you? And did we start off at the beginning where you kind of told which type of folks should reach out to you? Did we do that already? Like what your phone focuses on? Or did we skip that? We did that at the beginning. Okay, good. So if folks want to reach each of you, how should they go about that?
LinkedIn, I guess.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, LinkedIn works well. Yeah.
Same. Beautiful. Well, thank you all for coming on stage. It's much more fun when we have experts on here, sharing your knowledge. And I will see everybody in about half an hour.